Hello there. This is most definitely a coffee channel, but you don't have to enjoy coffee to enjoy this channel. Likewise, the same is true for coffee shops. Today, I want to look at the 5, I think, most common drinks that you can enjoy in a coffee shop and order in a coffee shop that are not based around coffee. So this is for my tea lovers out there, but also folks who want to enjoy the coffee shop space without really being into the flavor of coffee, which I fully understand. Maybe you're on the beginning of your coffee journey, or maybe you just know you don't like coffee. Either one, totally okay. One disclaimer before we kind of dive into these 5 most popular drinks is that these are not going to be applicable to everywhere. Of course, I'm speaking from a somewhat regional perspective to the US, but also just shop to shop, ingredients, demographics, markets, they will all vary, which means you might see different variations of what I'm going to show you here today, or you might not see them at all. We're speaking kind of general terms here. However, these 5 drinks are all very tasty, they are all very accessible, and so we're gonna talk about how to order them, what they are, and how to make them. This way, you know exactly what you're getting into when you walk up to the counter and are faced with a long list of coffee without the coffee palette. Let's get started with drink number 1. Now, I have talked about this drink pretty extensively in the past, and I'll link that down below, but the number 1 drink that you can find in most coffee shops for non-coffee drinkers is gonna be matcha. Matcha is a tea. However, it's not a loose leaf tea, it is a very finely ground green tea. When you see matcha on a cafe menu, the way it is most commonly served is as a matcha latte. Very similar to the structure of a cafe latte. You have your matcha base, you also have milk, and then maybe you have some sort of sweetener. This is very simple to order. You go into a cafe, you say, I'd like to have a small hot matcha, no sweetener, perhaps. And then your barista will grab the matcha, which comes in a little powder, they'll toss it in a bowl. The first thing they're gonna do is make that matcha concentrate. Now, some shops will already have pre-batched matcha concentrate done. It really depends on the volume that coffee shop is doing. They'll then add a little bit of hot water, and most likely use something that looks like this. This is a traditional bamboo whisk that is used for matcha, and they whisk. This is to incorporate that matcha powder into the water, get everything to one consistency, and then we can easily pour milk into it. Now, one thing to keep an eye out with matcha is that some shops will choose to use matcha brands that are pre-sweetened versus the more natural kind of raw flavor of matcha. Matcha itself, of course, is green tea, as I mentioned a couple times here, and so it has that very concentrated flavor of green tea. It has a slight umami to it, it has kind of a pleasant earthiness to it. Some people will describe it as grassy. I find that to be kind of a more negative tasting note, but it is kind of true. It has this green flavor that's very unique. Some people like it, but again, some people don't. So that's why you'll often see sweeteners added to it. If you are someone who prefers slightly sweet drinks and you're looking to order a matcha and the matcha is not already pre-sweetened, some things I recommend adding to it are either going to be honey or perhaps a vanilla syrup. Both of those are pretty neutral sweeteners that pair very well with the more deeper flavors found within matcha. Of course, lavender matchas are always very popular, but lavender is a little bit more iffy on whether you're going to find it. It also tends to be more seasonal. Now, once the barista has made up that concentrate, it goes into your cup. This would be the point where any additional syrup, if you are adding said syrup, would get added. But now, the rest of the operations here should seem pretty familiar. Matcha lattes can be served iced or hot. For a demonstration today, we're gonna go with a hot one, but if this was served iced, your shot of matcha, if you will, would just be poured over a glass of cold milk, ice would be added, and you would be on your way. Be right back, I'm gonna go steam this. All right, I've steamed my milk. Now, because the matcha is such a different color from the milk, it does mean most often you'll get some nice latte art on top of your matcha, which makes for that kind of aesthetic coffee quality that most people are looking for when they go into a coffee shop. And there you have it, drink number 1, a matcha latte. Very simple to order. You'll want to specify what size you're ordering. You'll want to specify whether you want it hot or cold. You'll also want to specify whether you want it sweetened or unsweetened. You'll get a drink that has a decent amount of caffeine in it still, while having a very lovely, frothy, like foamy consistency. It has a deep flavor to it, very tea heavy, and it's just a nice drink all around. It kind of hits that more, not bitter, because coffee can be perceived as bitter, but it kind of fits that less sweet category that people are often looking for in black coffee. I think it kind of does the same thing in the tea world. This is a great drink. I could talk about it all day. I have in a different video. Let's move on to our next one. I want to give a huge thank you to Blueland for sponsoring today's video. My kitchen is almost always a mess of sticky syrups, coffee grounds, and spilled drinks from the amount of recipe testing and drink builds that I do. This means I end up going through a lot of household cleaners, and switching to Blueland has been a fantastic way to both save money and reduce waste. Blueland's products are affordable, sourced from clean ingredients, and easy to use. One single tablet is enough to fill a full bottle of cleaner, and when you're done, all you need to do is get a refill tablet rather than another full bottle that will inevitably go into the trash. Blueland's products are also EPA Safer Choice certified, which means EPA scientists have evaluated every ingredient to ensure it meets Safer Choice's stringent criteria. I find the products I've been using the most are the foaming hand soap, which leaves my hands feeling moisturized and refreshed, as well as the multi-use cleaner, which gets a lot of use around the kitchen. So if you're ready to get started, you can get 15% off your first purchase by going to the top link in the description. Again, that's the top link down below for 15% off. And thank you again to Blueland for sponsoring today's video. Okay, drink number 2 today is going to be a London Fog. Now this is just structurally a tea latte, so somewhat similar to the matcha. You will note that the running theme of tea tends to go through quite a bit of these. However, a London Fog is a very unique drink that has its own name and is pretty universally recognized as using a couple base ingredients. The tea used in a London Fog is going to be known as Earl Grey. Now this is a blend of black teas that is usually flavored with bergamot oil. Bergamot is a citrus. It's a very floral citrus, and so when you have the oil added to the tea, you get a lot of florality and kind of like natural sweetness, like perceived sweetness added to the really rich base flavors of the black tea. Super pleasant on its own. And then when you add some steamed milk to it, it gets even better. So right here is a a little sachet of Earl Grey, which it seems like I have now added quite a few of my own oils to, which is kind of gross. Regardless, if you go into a cafe and order a London Fog, you will be greeted with a tea latte. You don't need to specify too much on this one. I think size, the temperature is going to be assumed already. It's almost always going to be served hot. You should also specify what milk option you would like. The default is usually going to be a dairy milk, but London Fogs are also very delicious with alternative milks. You order your drink, the barista is going to take that sachet, toss it in a cup, and then brew that tea. Now of note, they are not going to fill up the cup all the way. We want to leave about an inch of space on top to put our foamed milk. You can specify whether you would like more or less milk. Most cafes with their London Fogs tend to do 2/3 tea to about 1/3 steamed milk, but again, it could vary slightly place to place. Once more, similar to the matcha, this is a drink that can be sweetened or it could not be sweetened. This is a question to ask the shop. I think traditionally London Fogs are sweetened with a little bit of vanilla syrup, but it could go either way. I think vanilla, honey, and lavender are all delicious flavors to be added to London Fogs if you tend to lean towards the sweeter side of drinks. If not, these flavors on their own, they're going to be great. Now, I happen to like a little bit of vanilla in my London Fog, so at this point, I'll just add a little drop there. Of course, while this finishes steeping, I'm going to go steam up my milk real fast. Once your tea is steeped, remove the bag, and then simply enough, you layer that steamed milk on top into your latte. This is a drink that tastes like a thunderstorm on like a Friday evening. It is truly delicious and warm and comforting. Kind of a fun fact about the London Fog, and I'll link the article if I can find it. I believe it was done by Sprudge, but London Fogs didn't originate in London actually. I believe the name came from someone in Canada originally. Kind of interesting. Now, one last thing to note about this beverage is that this kind of format of drink, be it hot water, a tea, and steamed milk, can be applied to most teas. So while the London Fog specifically refers to a tea latte using Earl Grey tea, you can make tea lattes with anything that a cafe has on the menu. If you are looking for something that is caffeine-free, perhaps look at their herbal teas. If you are looking for a green tea with milk, that's also delicious, or you can do other black teas with milk for another equally delicious tea latte. This is a very versatile kind of drink structure. London Fog is specific to Earl Grey, but again, you can adjust it however you want. I'm gonna take a sip of this one. I love London Fogs. Let's move on to our next drink. Now our third drink is one well, frankly, I've been excited about all of these drinks, but this one especially is a coffee shop staple, specifically in the US. You will see it on almost all menus. And this is gonna be a chai, most commonly served in coffee shops as a chai latte. I want to be careful not to say chai tea. This is a chai that is being served as a chai latte. Now, most coffee shops are not making every single chai to order, and so instead they use a liquid chai concentrate, and that's going to hold all of those good, delicious black tea base with the sweetness of the spices and anything else that might be added. It's a very simple build. They will use usually about 1 part chai concentrate to about 1 part milk, depending on what brand or formula they're using. This is probably the simplest out of all of these drinks to order because you just need to ask for a small hot chai with whatever milk you like. The barista will then go grab their chai concentrate and then whatever milk you like. Pretty simple one. Now, you will find quite a bit of variance between different chai concentrate brands within cafes, or if they're making their own chai, you will also find a bit of variance there. Chai on its own has a lot of delicious spices, a lot of spices that we typically associate with baking. It has a little bit of like a sweetness to it. It's got those kind of black tea, tanniny flavors underneath. It's very lovely when paired with the fats of milk that kind of round out everything. However, some chais tend to be spicier and some chais tend to be a little bit sweeter, and it's worth asking the barista which their chai tends to be. I tend to lean towards liking a little bit spicier of chais, not necessarily so much on the sweet side. If you tend to like a sweeter chai, but what they offer is a spicier chai, it's a pretty easy remedy to it. Like with most of these drinks, frankly, a tiny bit of syrup will go a long way to kind of sweetening and rounding out those flavors in a way that you might find a little bit more pleasant. Honey is always a very good bet. It has a natural sweetness that pairs with chai very well, and also vanilla. It's a classic flavor, but it really does go with pretty much everything. However, I tend to lean on the spicier chai side, so let me go steam this up real fast. Like with most of these drinks, chai lattes can be served hot or iced, but I really do think hot chai lattes are where this drink shines the most. It's warm, it's comforting. Again, it is just a delicious treat that is spiced and rich and just kind of perfect as a beverage. Now, we'll add it to our cup here. Now, sometimes coffee shops will put a little bit of garnish on top of this, and I think that's kind of nice. My preference tends to be cinnamon, and cinnamon tends to be the most common as well. Just a little powdering right on top. It boosts the aromatics, if you will. Cheers. It's very good. Chai lattes often act as kind of a gateway of sorts into coffee drinks. People will often start here, especially younger folks, and they take the first step into coffee by adding a shot of espresso to this. Now, I will note that pretty much all chai lattes are going to be initially caffeinated as they have that black tea base, but you can boost it even further by tossing espresso in here. And also, it tastes really good. It turns it into kind of a spiced latte. It's easy, it's standard. We call it a dirty chai, which I really think we can improve on that name maybe a little bit. I'm happy to workshop it with whatever folks I need to. But that's the drink, and it often leads folks out of chai and then into coffee, and then they just enjoy chai separately. But regardless of whether you're adding a shot of espresso to this or not, it's a delicious drink. It can be a non-coffee drink. I could talk about this all day. We have 2 more drinks to do. Let's keep going. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, I can't guarantee that you'll find all of these drinks on your local coffee shop's menu, but I can almost guarantee that you will find this one. The next drink format that we're going to be looking at is a steamer. You most often see these kind of made for kiddos who are looking to have a coffee-like experience while their parents really don't want them to have coffee. But the steamer is a very versatile format that can be made into something that is lovely and delicate and non-caffeinated for you to enjoy. It is as much an adult drink as it is a kid's drink. Steamers are very simple. They're going to be a syrup, they're going to be steamed milk, and that's kind of it. But I'm going to give you a combination that is pretty accessible at most coffee shops that kind of elevates the drink a little bit. Now, we've been talking a lot about honey and vanilla today because they are 2 of kind of the most common flavors found in coffee shops, but now we're going to use both of them in combination. If you're ordering a steamer for the very first time, I suggest you order this, a honey vanilla steamer with a dash of cinnamon. What this drink is going to be is equal parts vanilla syrup and also honey. Then you're going to steam milk. You're going to combine the 2. You're going to add a little bit of cinnamon and combine one more time. This takes all the qualities of delicious, warm, sweet steamed milk and also adds a little bit of an edge to it with a bit of cinnamon. Easy, the barista will recognize this and most likely they will have all the ingredients for it. Equal parts honey and vanilla. You can make steamers with whatever milk option you like. Dairy milk will usually be the default, but I do highly recommend using almond milk in your steamers. Almond milk I don't love in combination with coffee, but on its own has a very distinct and kind of enjoyable flavor that shines when alone in the steamer. In goes our milk. As a barista, I like to add the cinnamon, or at least half of it, kind of early on in the drink. That way, it can be all stirred together and kind of homogeneous in the drink rather than just sitting on the top. I cannot tell you how many times I have been accidentally cinnamon challenged by a drink with far too much cinnamon on top. And then a bit more on the top. For aromatics, for fun, for garnish. Now, you might be saying, that is just a cup of warm milk. And yes, it is mostly a cup of warm milk, but it's a really enjoyable, pleasant, simple drink that a cafe can make for you if you are looking for something non-coffee to enjoy in a coffee shop space. And also, if you have kids, this is also a great option. It's like a little coffee nightcap, one might say. We have one more drink though, let's get going. Now this one is gonna be our first and also only entirely cold drink that we have on the list. This is gonna be an Italian soda. Most specialty coffee shops will have sparkling water somewhere on hand. Traditionally, when you serve an espresso, you will include a little kind of sidecar of sparkling water, and so likely there is some within the shop. Once more, this is a drink that is often kind of geared more towards the kiddos that come into a cafe, but frankly, this is a pretty common barista shift drink I found, and so there's no reason that you shouldn't order it as well. So, an Italian soda. The build of this drink is going to be sparkling water, a syrup of some type, and then also, usually, some sort of cream. That can be added or subtracted if you don't like cream in your Italian sodas. If you go into a cafe, how you should order it is, I'll have a large sparkling water with a shot of insert syrup and a splash of half and half. That should get you exactly what we're gonna make today. I do need ice, however. Now, any syrup will go into this drink, any syrup at all. I happen to have lavender on hand. That's a nice flavor. Let's go with that. Ooh, that might have been a bit much, but this is just for me, so that's okay. Next, your barista will take sparkling water. And this is where you can decide whether you want cream or not. As it is, this is a nice kind of a light lavender soda, very refreshing as is. However, if you want to elevate it a little bit of dairy added is very nice. Milk, half and half, heavy cream, whatever you like will all work well. Depends on kind of the intensity of the dairy and also kind of the weight of the drink that you're going for. This is where Italian sodas tend to look very pretty as well, because most often the dairy will kind of sit on top of that carbonation. Then, when you're ready to enjoy, gently stir. Don't go too crazy with this stir. Now just be very gentle when you stir here. Carbonation and added ingredients tends to go interestingly. Too much aggression often leads to kind of a boil over, if you will. Definitely looks a bit more plain now, but when you taste it, cold, refreshing, sparkling cream soda. It's delicious. Well, this was a whole lot of fun, and hopefully this was somewhat helpful and or educational for you, as these were 5 non-coffee coffee shop drinks that you can find in most cafes. Again, I am reiterating this disclaimer as I want you to be cautious with just assuming everyone will have all of these things. These are very generally well-known drinks and generally found in most cafes. So just read your menu. If there's one thing that I can drill into people's heads is that read the menu, you will likely find the answers you are looking for on that menu. Regardless though, if these are any of your favorite drinks, do let me know down below. Additionally, if you have a favorite non-coffee coffee shop drink that you like to order, I would also be very curious about that. I think regionally there's a lot of variance, and that's always kind of fun to explore. In the meantime, my name is Morgan. You can find me here on YouTube once a week plus shorts. You can also find me on TikTok or Instagram almost every single day. I can't even choose which one to take. I think I'll take the chai. It seems nice and close and a good amount. Anyways, I will see you all next time. Have a good day.